All right, guys, this video is to just orient you to some of the material I'm sending out here. So I recommend, and you don't have to do it, it's not for marks, but it's very good learning and it's very good exam preparation. And I'm spending my time putting it together, so I think you can spend your time working on it, which is this asynchronous learning module. Right, so it's just basically like one of the lab sheets we've been doing in class, except you're going through it by yourself. You can ask your Gemini AI assistant for help. And so go and do that. Here's our Mind Manager overview showing how all of these things sort of fit together. So you have that link. And so there's your asynchronous module. There's a quiz you can watch before you start the asynchronous module to give you some overview. So there's a quiz, there's a video, and there's a study guide which just captures together some of our connections between vectors, lists, and data frames. So some of the things I'm attaching here, these are concepts we worked on our day 3 PowerPoint teaching plan. That's just what we went over in class. That was just my little slide of how a SQL database works for reference, not on your final exam. But if you want to understand data analysis, pretty important. And here was our first exercise, which was our bike share. Now, something I mentioned to you yesterday is that if you're in Google, right, so see, I have something here called Ask Gemini. That is Google's AI. And a beautiful, amazing thing about it is it can study your screen and you can ask questions of it. So let's go to our Posit cloud environment. And if you have any basic questions or you just want to do some sort of vibe coding, hacking around, vibe coding is a new term you've probably heard where people interact with their AI to learn things. So let's go and do a little example here. I'll make a new workspace. They're giving us Posit Cloud for free, and you can do a lot. If you really needed to do serious level work, I guess you'd need to pay $15 a month to buy an account. However, we don't need that for class. I'll just repurpose one of my previous. And as always, I don't need to tell you now, go and make sure you clean out your space so you don't get any carryover from before that might be making interference. Now, just going to show you a couple of things here. I've turned on my Ask Gemini tab. So how did I get that? I just went to Google. And now bear in mind, Posit Cloud is one thing, Google Gemini is something else. But because Gemini works well with the Chrome browser, I turned on the Ask Gemini panel and it can see my screen. So I can ask questions. I can ask it to help me interactively with my own screen. So now I could say I want to learn how to, or practice or reinforce, I want to learn how to make a data frame in R. And then I follow the instructions. If I run into a problem, I say, look at my screen and fix this problem. In R, you create a data frame using the built-in data.frame, which we already saw, by passing named vectors of equal length as arguments. So that means I probably need to make some vectors first. By the way, it's a good thing this did not exist when I was your age. When I was 20, studying my engineering stuff, if I would have had this, I'd have probably died from sleep deprivation. I would just be so enthralled with this, I'd keep going forever and I'd never be able to pull myself away from it. And once you get into that vibe coding mindset, you'll be the same way. So here it's giving me some example code. All right, well, let's take it and run it. And there's something we exactly did in our worksheet, and now you know what all of this means. There's also some other stuff. We're not getting into tidyverse. It's another library. If it's something you haven't seen in class, I welcome you to investigate and learn about it. But if you want to focus on your final exam prep, make that a project to put off till later. Now, suppose I ask another question. I say, well, basically here I can ask it to explain. I can say, you said, you meaning Gemini, that a data frame is what, right? It's composed of vectors of equal length. In R, you create data frames using the data.frame method. Function by passing named vectors is a collection of named vectors. And if I'm not sure, I can ask. I can say, is that right? Is my understanding correct? And the other thing you should realize when you work with AI, it learns. It learns about you. So 10 questions from now, it's going to have created a psychometric profile of you, how you learn, how you absorb information, what you mean by a certain thing. So it's like a fine-tuned second brain that integrates directly with your own way of thinking about things and processing information. You said that a data frame is a collection of named vectors. Is this right? I'm just echoing it back to there, because I want to reinforce my thinking, and several of your final exam questions are going to be based on that. Under the hood in R, a data frame is a named list of equal length vectors. Right, so I welcome you to go and read all of that and ask any questions that you might have. So each individual column is an atomic vector, meaning it's primitive, right? It's not it's not a thing of objects, it's a thing of primitive scalars. Homogeneous, we know one data type. So a data frame can be heterogeneous, various columns can be of different types, but each vector must be homogeneous, either all string, all numbers, or whatever. Now I'm going to say, I wish to learn, I wish to understand this more. I'm sharing my context with my AI. Suppose I want to make a college enrollment system. And by the way, one student in class today, they said, well, how do I go from nothing, from the ground up, from zero? How do I go from not even understanding anything to getting a working data analytics? What's the term I'm looking for? Power BI is analytics dashboard. Sorry, how do I get a working analytics dashboard using R, just like I previously did with Power BI? Well, to begin with, you start with a small, minimal viable product. So you make it not for thousands of records. Somebody was saying they want to make something for a healthcare system. Great. What is the very minimal, smallest MVP, minimal viable product you can come up with? 2 or 3 records and get them working, and then you build up from there. So Peter's answer to the question of how do I build a complex analytical dashboard, well, you don't. You build a simple analytic dashboard and you start scaling it out from there. So I wish to understand, I want to make a college enrollment system. I have 3 students, John, Mary, and Sarah. And the great thing about this is that when I or another instructor is teaching you in class, I have to process, right? Subconsciously, I'm thinking, how can I say this so everybody will understand it? The problem is what works for everybody doesn't work optimally for any one particular person. But now you tell your AI, show it to me like this is what I want to see, and it's going to learn how to talk to you in the most effective way. So I wish to understand this more. I want to make a college enrollment system. I have 3 students and 5 courses, 5 classes. So John is in Java and math. Mary is in, and I said I want 5 classes, right? So I've got Java and math, that's 2. Mary is in business, international business, what do they call that thing? They teach business people how to be sensitive to international cultures, cross-cultural business etiquette. And data science. And Sarah is in, how many courses did I get so far? Java, math, cross-cultural business etiquette, data science. Sarah is in Java, data science. I'm just checking the number of. Now, normally, if I was doing this for real, as I showed you in class, I'd take a piece of paper, I'd write this out, I'd figure it out in advance. You young guys and you young ladies, you don't have any patience. You don't want to write things out in advance, even though that's the good way to do it. Well, with an AI, you can vibe code your way along, you can gratify your desire to be impatient, and you can offload some of the cognitive workload to your AI as I'm teaching you now. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's what you're going to do, so I'll teach you how to do it well. So I have Java, cultural business etiquette, data science. Java I've already counted, data science I've already counted, so I need 2 more courses here. So Sarah's in Java, data science, using Mathematica, which is a course we should create here. I've been talking to the office about it, but that's another story. And AI for business planning. Do I have 5 core? Now, I just made up 5 classes. I could have said 10. I could have said another number, so don't get caught up on that. But I have Java, math, business etiquette, which I spelled wrong, etiquette. Etiquette. Oh, maybe it's right. Java, math, etiquette, data science. Java I already got. Data science I already got. Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to say some courses and let the AI figure it out. I have 3 students and the following indicated courses. I wish to understand this more. I want to make a college enrollment system. I have 3 students. Now I'm going to I'm going to tell the AI what I think is going on and ask it to improve my thinking. And I'm going to keep another note here because I keep thinking of that student who was asking me how we can design analytics dashboards using the principles of software engineering. I'm just making this up as I'm going along, by the way. Methodology or data analytics dashboard engineering. That's a new term. I just made that up. Dashboard engineering. All right. So, student who was asking me, how do you structure going from a set of problems to a working analytic dashboard? This is for you. I hope you're paying attention. So, step 1, create your minimal viable product. Your smallest possible dashboard that addresses some of the problems, because once you've got it working small, you can always scale it up. Now, of course, at work, we would not be doing it this way at work. At work, we'd be talking to subject matter experts, clients, right? If you're designing an analytic dashboard for a store. I know when my wife was working for McDonald's, she was a data analyst. They had to actually go and work in a McDonald's location for 3 days serving hamburgers to customers because, they figured out a data analyst cannot make good reports unless they have a boots on the ground, eyes on the scene experience of actually working in that business. So either you know about the business from previous professional endeavors, or you go and work there, or you talk to a subject matter expert. Here in class, we're just going to make it up, but at work, that's how you would do it. So you create your MVP. That's step 1. So I'm saying I wish to understand this more. I want to make a college enrollment system. I have students and classes. So I'm going to say test my understanding. Do I start by making vectors for each for students and for classes? If you try to create 2 simple vectors, R will give you an error because data frame columns must have the exact same length as we've seen, right? Remember that error message we got in class yesterday about you're trying to add something that's not a multiple of your target. John has 2 classes, Mary has 2, Sarah has 4. 8 total class enrollments for 3 students. This is how you handle it in R depending on how you want to structure your data. Method 1, tidy format, repeat the student's name and class in every day they take, gives you two vectors of equal length. Each row represents one enrollment record. There's my code. Method 2, list column 3 rows if you want strictly 3 row. Now, the AI is telling me this is recommended, so I'm just going to go with this. And normally for your studying, I suggest you retype this out with your own fingers, but we don't want this video to run too long, so I'm just going to execute this here. You know what to do. I don't even need to tell you this anymore. Oh, I forgot to save it. See, my run thing is grayed out. I don't have a run command because I didn't save this yet. Now I've got my enrollments data frame. See here, I created enrollments, data.frame. What did I do with it? You see, I inlined the creation of two vectors. So I have my student vector and I have my class vector. And there's what it looks like. Great, so now I'm going to go back and talk to my AI again. I'm going to say, great, now I have two data frames. Now here was a question a student was asking in class, and I gave some verbal explanation, but now let's crank it up a notch with AI. Now here is something I must understand more. In SQL, I know how to connect tables on fields with predicate joins. Predicate joins. How do I, explain it to me more, create predicate joins, which is not exactly a data frame term, but I'm using it because my AI will understand. That's what the student was asking in class today. See, normally I should have a separate Word document with my requirements, so let's go and add this to our methodology here. Step 0. So I should have written this down before. I'm just going to go and look for it quickly here. I think Sarah was in cultural etiquette or something. So John is in Java and math. Mary is in cross-cultural business etiquette and data science. Sarah's in Java, data science using Mathematica, and AI for business planning. Now here is something I must understand. In SQL, I know how to connect tables on fields using predicate joins. How do I create predicate joins that put, for example, Sarah into these courses? How do I glue? How do I make the data schema mapping to connect elements of one vector to the appropriate elements in the other vector? How do I make a predicate join in data frames? All right, let's see what it came up with. To perform a SQL-style predicate join matching tables on table A key to table B key, you separate your entities into normalized data frames and link them using merge or some other functions we have here. Now, this is a little bit beyond what we got to in our course. I was just going by what's in the course outline. The sort of hand-waving explanation I gave you just drawing on the screen is good enough for this course. But if you really want to drill down to the bottom, here's what you need to do. So let's enter this code and run it. And now we've created tables. And if I want to drill more into that, I can say explain the concept of tables in R. And somebody was asking in class if they're like SQL tables. Let's see what Gemini AI has to say about it. In R, the direct equivalent of a table is a data frame, which we saw. R also has an explicit data class called table that specifies object used for counting frequency distributions. So once again, I'll leave it to you to go and investigate this. You can copy and paste it into your own study document. The specific table function in R, if you run the built-in table function on a data frame, you're not creating a database table, you're generating a frequency count. When designing a relational system in R, like the college enrollment system, you treat frames as SQL tables. You can join them using keys, filter them as we saw, and query them. So I can say, show me the code to print out my tables in a visually sort of professional, polished way suitable for including in a report. So we have a package called GT. We're going to merge our students and enrollment data frames so we have a complete data set. So let's enter that. And I have something called report data now, so let's see what it looks like. And there it is. The GT package creates clean, customizable. Now that's not something we got into, it's not on the course outline, but here's how you would do it. So it'd be a little bit more like maybe an advanced course topic. Right, so we're installing our packages. Now it's going and downloading from CPAN some additional packages. So the main thing in this new world of AI is you just need to understand the concepts and words in what you're working with to be able to ask meaningful questions. And there could be another way of doing it. We're not getting into R Markdown. R Markdown's like HTML for R. Go and investigate it, but we're not going to be getting into that here. It's still installing stuff. All right, very good. Let's see what report data looks like. And there's our table again. So now we're seeing how we connected students to classes. That's what somebody wanted to see. We did a little hand waving explanation in class. This is a more formal treatment. Use DT when your target argument needs to filter, sort, or search large databases directly on the screen. That's something interesting. Let's ask for that. Show me code. Tables. Right, so there's the code I'm going to run, and there's the explanation of what it's doing. And if I had any specific questions, I could just go and ask more specific questions. So now I asked, how do I now view and interact with this table? And it's saying your table is available right here in our studio. So student ID, student name, major, and course title. So again, this gets a little bit beyond what we were thinking of doing here, but it is answering the question of how you would make this work in the real world. Let's try publish, or we could export, or you could export that as a web page if you want. Let's try publishing it. Following content requires an updated version of these packages. Yes, go and install them. So while it's installing, I'm going to go back and update our methodology document. So step 0, make your data analytic dashboards design document, figure out what you need to do and what data you have, create your MVP, and then step 2 would be vibe. I mean, this is a simplified way of doing it. Vibe with AI to build up in little layers until you get a publishable dashboard that you can show to users. And then in the real world, if you're doing this at work, then you loop around for a while, you cycle around to get approvals, show to clients and managers, to get feedback, and work on iteratively improving it until it solves the real world problem that business users want to solve. And that's pretty much it. So whoever was asking how do you build a real world thing, it's iteratively, like you build it up in little layers, and After this, you might want to put more stuff on top of it, maybe able to ingest data from SQL or something. But this would be the start of it. All right, so anyway, I'll publish this out later. I'll kick this out when I kick out this video, but that is your procedure. Start small and build up in layers till you get a working, ready to publish dashboard. All right, let's see how we're making out in our vibe coding session. Publish to Posit. Now, I'm not sure if I can do this with the free plan available. Yeah, I know that if you pay the $15 a month, you can do more stuff and make it available, but we want to do everything free here. An application or service is requesting access. Enter the code displayed in your application. Authorization request has been approved. Yay. Account name Peter Sigurdsson. Sure. This is sort of like GitHub. I showed you GitHub yesterday. This is kind of like GitHub for your reports. So now I'll ask my AI, now that I have a Cloud Connect account, in RStudio, the publish window is good because it can see my screen. It knows what's there. Type in a name, college enrollment dashboard. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can also join the data science hangout. Nice. Now, we made that to be a float. We should have probably just made it to be an integer because our student numbers are integerial, but that's something you can go back and fix out later. Student name John. Major CS. Course title Java. So now, within a short amount of time, you've gone from a kind of open-ended problem, a requirement, to creating a published dashboard. And you could go and put this published link in your LinkedIn or your resume as well. I know some of you guys are into writing your LinkedIn blog, so you could go and write this up as a blog. All right, so that's pretty much as I wanted to show you for right now. Mostly I wanted to show you how you could vibe with Gemini AI to create things, and we saw some other reinforcements here. You now have a number of tools to study and practice for your final exam, so go and do it.